Hello and welcome to Byju's IAS. Let's get started and look into our daily quiz. Let's look into the first question. Arrange the following in the correct chronological order of their arrival in India. Danish, Portuguese, English, the French. The answer to this is 2, 3, 1 and 4. So what is the correct chronological order? The first who came to India were the Portuguese, followed by the English, then we have the Danish, and finally what we have is the French colonial power who came to India and ruled India for a large number of years. As part of the assignment, you have to put on the comment section when did these colonial powers enter India as part of the assignment. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statements. Out of all the European colonial powers that came to India, it was the Dutch who had the shortest presence in comparison to the Portuguese and the English. The first factory founded by Dutch in India was at Masulipatam. The Battle of Kolakil permanently ended Dutch presence in South India when the Travancore army defeated an army of the Dutch East India Company. Which of the above statements is or correct? The answer to this is 1, 2 and 3. When we look into the first statement is right. Why? That is because when you compare the Portuguese and the English and to the presence of the Dutch happened to stay in India for a very short period in relative context. So it is the Dutch who are staying in India for a shorter period of time. The second statement is also right. The first factory was founded by Dutch in the Masulipatam. So where is Masulipatam is what you have to put on the comment section. When we look into the third statement is also right. By the middle of the 18th century, the Dutch had begun to lose their influence in the Indian subcontinent. One is because of the greater ambitions of the British. They wanted to expand their role in India, and at the same time, we have some of the important kingdoms in India, like that of the Travancore kingdom, which also defeated the Dutch army as well. So basically, by the middle of the 17th century, we have the Dutch East India Company and the Dutch who are losing their power when it comes to the Indian subcontinent. Why have we taken both these practice questions? Because this article here makes a mention about the Dutch cemetery. So by the end of the 17th century, the following were the principal factories of the Dutch East India Company, which included Surat, Bimplipattam, Karaikal, Chinsura, Baranagar as well as Cochin. What is that they exported from these places? Indigo was manufactured in Yamuna Valley and central India, silk and textiles from Bengal and Gujarat, salpeter from Bihar and opium and rice from the Ganga Valley. All these were produced in India and they were exported to the places that they wanted to. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following statements is or correct? The sun is the largest object in our solar system, comprising 99.8% of the system's mass. The diameter of the sun is 190 times that of the earth. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is one only. Why? That is because when you look into the second statement, the diameter of the sun is not 190 times, but instead it is 109 times that of the earth. Since it is a wrong statement, the answer to this would be one only. When we look into the solar system, it is the gravity of the sun that holds the solar system together. What does it do? It keeps the biggest planets to the smallest of the particles of the debris into their orbit. That happens to be the most important functionality of the sun. As a star, the sun is a ball of gases. It includes about 92.1% of hydrogen and about 7.8% of helium. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article here makes a mention of the sun. It also gives us an idea about the stellar midlife crisis. What is this stellar midlife crisis? As we all know, the number of years that a human being can live is up to 100 years. So the midlife of 100 years, it is about 50 years. So the sun was formed 4.6 billion years ago, and this 4.6 billion years now is the mid time of the sun. So it means it lived for another 4.6 billion years. So it has already lived 4.6 billion years. So it is going to live for another 4.6 billion years. So during this particular period, at about 4.6 billion years, there might be some issues going forward. What are these issues is what is called as the stellar midlife crisis. So what is the context here? There were a team of astronomers from India and Nepal. They have detected that stars also go through midlife crisis. This is where they also encounter that there is a reduction in their activity, rotational rates transitioning into an inactive phase. So the study here has gone on to say that there will be a decline in the number of sunspots, flares, outbursts and similar phenomena in the sun after the midlife. Apart from this, the article here also makes a mention of the different methods for estimating the age of the sun. One, it makes use of the radioactive dating where old meteorites are taken and the meteorite's age is found out, and ultimately we can get to a conclusion about the life of the sun. If this is not possible, we can also make use of another technology called as the gyrochronology. What is this gyrochronology? Basically, what we try and identify is what is the age of the sun by making use of the rotation of the sun as well as the age. How? The rotation rate of a star slows down with the age. So we would be able to find out the age of the sun as well. Now let's look into the next practice question. With reference to the InSight mission, which of the following statements is or incorrect? It is part of NASA's Discovery program. InSight is the first mission dedicated to looking deep beneath the Martian surface. So which of the statements are incorrect? Since it is asking for the incorrect statement, the answer to this is none. Why? Because InSight is the first mission that is dedicated to understand what is beneath the Martian surface. So they will try and understand what is below the crust. They will try and understand what is exactly happening on the Martian or the Mars surface. So they have basically used all the different technologies. They've also taken help from multiple other countries as well. We have the German Aerospace Center. We have the United Kingdom Space Agency. They've all come together to understand what is happening beneath the Martian surface. So basically, different scientific tools like the seismometer for identifying the quakes, sensors for gauging the wind, air pressure, magnetometer and a heat flow will all be checked as part of this initiative. So what is the significance of this particular mission? Basically, studying the interior structure will help us identify the early formation of the rocky planets in our solar system, and the InSight mission will also measure the tectonic activity and the meteor impact on the Mars. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article here makes a mention of the InSight mission. Now let's look into the next question. Consider the following statement. The Rajya Sabha has no power either to reject or amend a money bill. The Rajya Sabha cannot vote on the demands for grants. The Rajya Sabha cannot discuss the annual financial statement. Which of the statements given above is or correct? The answer to this is 1 and 2 only. This happens to be a previous year question from the year 2015. The first statement is right, as Rajya Sabha does not have any power to reject or amend a money bill, as this is given entirely to the Lok Sabha. The Rajya Sabha also cannot vote on the demands for grants, as this is a power given to the Lok Sabha, but the Rajya Sabha can discuss about the annual financial statement. It can discuss, which is why the third option is wrong, and the answer to this would be 1 and 2 only. Now let's look into the fact of the day. The fact of the day for today's discussion is Atal Innovation Mission. What is this Atal Innovation Mission? This is a flagship program of the Government of India, which is under the control of the Niti Aayog. What does it do? What is its very idea? Its very idea is to ensure that there is innovation in India, and at the same time there is entrepreneurship that is developed in India. So the two objectives is innovation on one side, so that we can mitigate the impact of economic distress, and at the same time is to encourage more people to enter the fold of entrepreneurship. How does it work? Basically, this is an entrepreneurship program where people are identified, they are asked to self employ themselves, their talent will be utilized, and ultimately they would be supported and monitored by other successful entrepreneurs. So, the minute you decide you have a plan, you will be trained and supported by other established entrepreneurs. So, that is about entrepreneurship, and at the same time, many of the innovators might not have a platform, the platform to express their ideas. So under the Atal Innovation Mission, what happens if there is a plan and if there is going to be a successful implementation, a platform will be provided under the Atal Innovation Program. So basically, this is one of the programs which will help in bringing about massive changes in different sectors of the economy by providing the platform and collaborating multiple opportunities with different stakeholders that are part of the system. Some of the major initiatives taken by the Atal Innovation Mission happens to be the Atal Tinkering Lab. What is this Atal Tinkering Lab? This will create problem solving mindset across the schools in India. As we just discussed, this is a multi-stakeholder approach. So what will happen? There'll be schools that will be involved, then there'll be colleges that will be involved, there'll be universities that will be involved. We will also have the business setup, and finally we will also have the industrial units as well. All of this will be integrated as part of the Atal Tinkering Labs. So an idea would be taken, it will be molded in the school students so that they have ignited passions towards the entrepreneurship skills. So basically, this is one of the important initiative taken under the Atal Innovation Yojana, where the school students are enabled to participate. They build and create an idea, and this is nurtured from a very early age. Followed by this, we have the Atal Incubation Center, which fosters world-class startups in universities, institutions, private sector, adding new dimensions of outcomes-based scale-up and monitoring the existing incubator models. Then we have the Atal New India Challenges, which fosters product and service innovations in the country with national socio-economic impact and aligning them with the needs of various sectors, ministries, and industries. Then we have the Atal Community Innovation Center, which will stimulate community centric innovation and ideas in the unserved, underserved regions of the country, including the tier 2 and the tier 3 cities and rural India. Finally, what we have is the Arise program, which will stimulate the innovation and research in the MSME industry. So this program has a holistic objective of encompassing schools, universities, research institutions, MSMEs, NGOs, in fact, ministries are all connected so that we have more innovation when it comes to India, gives rise to entrepreneurship skills as well, and ultimately the socio-economic impact is also taken into picture. So new ideas, programs and schemes can be launched by the Atal Innovation Mission with the thought and the idea that we can bring change in the society. It is this that we have to understand in reference to the Atal Innovation Mission. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.